Whew! Great God Almighty, I look tired. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. That's what I want. That right there. There we go. I'll deal with that later. Let me see who was on here, and if y'all can still look tired. If y'all can hear me, how's the connection? So I haven't been regularly on YouTube. I didn't forget what my regular time was. I don't forget what time is good for my people. Y'all gotta let me know what's a good time for y'all. I can make some arrangements, move some things around, you know. What is that? Oh, that's frankincense. Let's see if the comments are coming in. If I need to do some network changes. Hello, Renee. God bless you. Let me know if the sound and the connection quality is good and the lag is not too bad. Camilla, God bless you. Or is it Camila? The font is so small down there. It's hard to tell what you're reading. So I wanted I'm on because I want to set the redirect. I want to redirect the show back to its original premise, which was not me giving these random, sincere and heartfelt rants, okay, on YouTube, but it was primarily to empower you, and using that kind of as a platform to go ranting off on. But that way, both the audience, you and myself, were left somewhat satisfied. So I want to get back to that interaction with you guys. I want to get back to answer some of your questions, some Q&A. I think does the soul good. So, oh, you're welcome for your charm. Welcome, and I'm gonna talk about that on this show as well, on this broadcast. But let's see where everybody is. Let me know where you're from. If you're new to my channel, my God, thank you for subscribing and liking and sharing. I never asked anybody to share. I keep forgetting to do that. Share this stuff out if you think it's valuable and valuable enough so that somebody else wants to hear it. We all kind of have our own little quirks. We don't want, Susie May not be interested in this, but that Johnny Mac might. Well, then share me out to Johnny Mac. The hell with Susie May. From the Caribbean. All right. From VA, from Virginia. That's the Blue Phoenix. Well, good to have an audience ranging from the Caribbean islands to Virginia. That's quite a ways. That's quite a reach. So thank you for that. If you don't mind giving a thumbs up to the video, I'd appreciate it. Samiko says, hi from North Carolina. Oh, y'all ain't nothing but a hop and a skip up the way up in North Carolina. It's good to hear we got the people that's not so far away. If I move these spoons out the way, they're bothering me. And then, yeah, so you guys feel free to drop your questions, anything related to magic, conjure, the Bible, spirituality, I guess, in a relatively narrow definition. I would love to engage you and interact with you guys on the basis of those questions. Look forward to it. While you guys are typing and what does that go to? While you guys are typing your questions and what have you, comments and commentary. So I have been, we've already launched my Patreon that I've called the Master Class. You can find the link down below this video, actually, right now. Patreon.com/cosmic, KHOZMIQ. And in there, I endeavor to put my online recipe book, receipt book, spell book, grimoire, whatever you want to call it, online. I also endeavor to be able to reach out to assist, to instruct those who may or may not have been able to gain access into my apprenticeship program, which is a more specialized form of training. And I recommend it highly. I get tons and tons of requests for instruction, for some one-on-one kind of things, for some tips, some tricks, some pointers, some coaching, some Conjure coaching. And so that is what the Masterclass platform is endeavoring to do. We've got a couple of tiers there. Greetings. Um, do you ever do videos about astrology, and do you feel astrology and magic are intertwined? I absolutely do believe that astrology and magic are intertwined, so much so I believe that they are sister sciences, and you can't have a good grasp of one without the other. As I've said here and other places oftentimes, um, that in the ancient world there were three mother sciences. There was astrology, that became astronomy. All right. Um, the I should say it was secularized into astronomy. You had alchemy that was secularized into chemistry, and you had magic or metaphysics that was secularized into physics as we know it today. But these are the three core occult arcane sciences, and you really aren't going to have a great grasp of one without having at least a passing peripheral understanding of the other adjunct disciplines. Do I teach on astrology on this channel? I have not, but that information you can find, I think, at least about an hour, 45-minute video I did on a crash course in astrology. I was teaching a method of chart reading. There's a couple of methods out there that I teach. This one was a very touch and go. How do you take a people who don't know absolutely dog diggity about anything astrological, astronomical, zodiacal, or celestial, and get them to at least have a basic understanding of their chart and with enough proficiency to read somebody else's chart with relative ease? And I did that at I'd say about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour crash course. Really, I based it upon the idea of directionality. So if you can decipher top from bottom and left from right, then you can get some very good sturdy standing in basic astrological knowledge. And actually, that is actually in my master class. That's why I released this exclusively there. I removed it from all other platforms. You can only find it in my master class. So it's called Astrology at a Glance. That's what I called it. You actually look at a chart, and you can tell up, down, left, and right. We kind of, you know, um, we didn't do a lot of going into the houses, into the plans, into the signs. We really just kind of went directionally. And that alone has really boosted people's confidence in being able to read their own chart, and of course a relative proficiency to read somebody else's chart. So you can find that information there. Now in my masterclass, I am going to be going much more in depth into astrology, because astrology is a magical science in and of itself. There is astrological magic is a thing. You start getting into talismanic theory, you start getting into celestial spirits, you start getting into the different celestial spheres, you start getting into the fixed stars, you start getting into that very old, ancient forms of magic that we read about in tales of a bygone era. I believe that all these great feats you read about in books today, about levitating buildings, and about flying carpets and rings of power, all these kinds of things, I believe that all of those, by and large, came out of what the Magians left us by way of Zoroaster, which of course then became known as the Magi, or the wise men of Persia, and where they got their sciences from, but was left part and parcel in their astrological magical traditions. And so when you start talking about talismanic theory, you start talking about astrology and things like that. There's certainly a magical science to it that cannot be overstated. And I'll just say this. I believe that astrological magic and talismanic theory, as a result of that, is probably the most powerful form of magic known in the Western world. And that's a very bold claim, but I can easily back it up with just, what the records show us. So that I'll definitely be going more into in the map. That's what the masterclass is for, where I can really just brain dump stuff. If you guys, one of my students or a couple of my students like to say, they've got, we'll be in class and they'll get pages and pages of notes. One student, she at least gets 8 to 10 pages of notes every time we have class. And we were on live with Brother Moses on his Instagram, Hoodoo Moses on Instagram last night. We were in there for like a 2-hour session. We did a back-to-back. And the people were like, wait a minute, whoa, where does this dude come from? Nobody told us to get a pen. Stop everything. Let me go get a pen. So you're going to be able to get that same kind of, what I call it, content-dense instruction in the masterclass. I don't worry about boring anybody. I don't have to worry about time limits. So I really have a lot more creative freedom on the platform of Patreon. So those are my rants on astrology. Is absolutely an essential science. Yeah, I enjoy chart reading, but I would like to extend my knowledge. Yes, there is really so much to no. Now I will say this. Let me go ahead and just speak plain to you. I teach from a traditional up to Renaissance astrological system. Okay, so it's a little bit different than what you're seeing today in the modern era. A lot of the mainstream. It's actually quite different. It's almost like a culture shock. The reason for that is, and I'll go into more in depth about this in the masterclass, but with the advent of the 17th century under primarily Eliphaz Levi in Victorian era magic, he begins to assert a concept that was deviant from this very long, unbroken lineage of magic we have from the ancients, which is the idea that things in and of themselves are not magical, right? That objects or whatever are simply inert. They exude absolutely no occult virtue whatsoever, and that all of the power, all of the virtue is resident in the consciousness of the magician. Now, that poses a number of problems. Well, fundamentally, it goes against eons, I would say. Well, let me not be bombastic, but it goes against millennia of what we know about magical tradition. That has just not been the case. And in most cases heretofore, those never heard of an ancient magical traditions. No, people actually went and they got herbs because the herbs actually did something. That they weren't just doing it out there for their health. Okay, the herbs actually did something. The roots, the stones, the sticks, the bones, the elements, the trees, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, actually had an innate virtue to them that maybe the consciousness of the magician could somehow direct and redirect. Sure, okay, in that regard, sure, but but to be audacious enough to say that all of it was absolutely resident in the mind of the magician was it was borderline heretical, to be quite frank. But nonetheless, it took, right? That idea took. That seed was incepted. Of course, as that colonial empire expanded, that thought also expanded. And that was really, in my opinion, the seed of the quote unquote New Age movement or New Age philosophy that we see today. Okay. Which is very much so intention centric. This idea that, and this is what I mean. I'm not talking about don't have intention. What I mean is that your intention will trump. So, for example, if you have goo for dust, okay, you've got goo for dust. but you need more money. Okay. And you read an article that said, well, it doesn't matter what you have. If you've got Goofer dust, if you just believe hard enough, just believe. I mean, just really put your back into it. Just believe hard enough that Goofer dust will become a money drawing powder for you in no time. It's asinine logic like that, right? Um, right, and so we begin to get those ideas and those success and views from that idea, right? As that idea began to grow in people's minds. So what that inevitably did was it put I should say, an undue overemphasis on the individual. And so, how does this relate to astrology today? Well, that is what gave rise to the modern idea of astrology, which is primarily psychological. And if we were to speak frank, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's why the modern day horoscopes. Let me just say, I'm a Taurus, all right. And one thing about a Taurus is that if anybody of the 12 children of God, of anybody of the 12 sons of the zodiac knows bullshit, it would probably be the bull in the family. Just a thought. Um, so I call bullshit because a lot of the astrology you see today really began to start really around the well, we won't go into time frame, but it's highly psychological. It is very vague. It is ambiguous. It is purposefully abstract. It has a lot of psychological jargon. It is mixed and mingled with buzzwords that make it good for SEO, that make it good for Instagram, that make it Facebookable. But when you're actually going to it, uh, you may get an ego trip. You may get like this egoic orgasm from reading it. Oh wow, I'm so amazing. Finally somebody gets me. Um, but then after that, you have actually nothing practical to work with whatsoever. And Taurus is all about practicality. I mean, when you look at um, yes, it was. Particularly if you go back to Egypt, they had Hathor. Um, when you look at the, um, it becomes you centric, right? It's as if you were to walk into your therapist and they say, "Well, lie down," okay, and they just begin to feed back to you what you've already been saying, right? Um, and so it is, to me, that stuff doesn't serve no practical purpose. I can boost my own stuff up. I don't need to read an online article to do that for me. That doesn't do anything for me. Um, this is also why well, I won't get into that, but I will say this now. I'll let this go. Um, when you look at astrology, was the prevailing science, okay, even taught in the church. Okay. And we're talking about as late as the 17th century. This is nothing, far off. We're not talking about, ancient Rome. We're talking about as late as the 17th century. They were still astrology was a course that priests took. Okay. Um, so what I was gonna say was, when you realize this was the prevailing science and that people literally based empire decisions, family decisions, marriage decisions on this science. I mean, people aren't going to do that on vague, ambiguous, random, buzzword laden facts. People don't do that. That's not in human nature to do that. I'm not going to. That may be trife. That may be novelty. But I'm not about to base thousands of dollars of an investment upon you saying, well, your Chiron is aspecting your Uranus. By the way, you might want to clean that, and it's going to make you poop. People don't do stuff like that. Um, so when you look back at the historical record, there are accounts of people finding thieves. So, today we have all kinds of advanced technology. We have surveillance systems to catch, thieves and robbers. But then they had astrology. That was how precise and accurate of a science it was, and how objective of a science it was. They would catch thieves based upon this, right? When you go and you look back at things, for example, like William Lilly and his incredible tome called Christian Astrology, which I recommend you get it. It's a dense read. It's a tome. Um, he talks about like, for example, you could tell a person where a person's birthmark was on their body based upon their ascendant. I mean, it was stuff that accurate. It was stuff just that straight up in your face, not ambiguous, no way around it. Here it is, right? Either here's the other thing about it. When you go to this is what really vexes me, because I am in that world of divination, prophecies, that kind of thing. The foreseers, the seers. Okay, that's my career. And so when I see these I don't know, pundits, caricatures, call them what you may, that arise, and they make all these, they make a lot of hype and pomp and circumstance, and act like they're issuing these very bombastic predictions, and it's very, very vague. They're like, wait, what? What did you just say? Like, what? No, like, but really, like, what's your point by point? You see. And what they do is, it's an old Barnum strategy for cold reading. You hedge your bets. You hedge your bets. Um, it's like it is this, but then not quite that. It's stuff like that just it just vexes me. With I'm like, yo, if you don't know, say you don't know. If you're not sure, say you're not sure. Don't use that as a way to. I feel like it vexes me. It vexes me. I make sure when I train my seers, my prophets, my readers, I don't allow that at all. That shit pisses me off personally, and I'll say stop that right in the middle of their reading. Stop that. Pause. We're not gonna let that fly, and it could be because of my prophetic background. We just didn't do stuff like that. If you said you made a prediction, they was gonna record it, so it had to be pretty clear. Okay, and they would ask you, okay, you said so and so and so. Is that what you meant when you said so and so and so? You said yes or no, whatever the case may be. And if it came to pass, well, if it didn't, well, you had to be accountable for what you said, all right? And I feel like, oh my god, I can't. It just really vexes me. So that being said, I teach traditional astrology that goes into those levels of details. Is not going to be talking about um old mother wounds and traumatic childhood per se. It's not going to be. It's why it's kind of a culture shock. It's not going to be very psychological. um it's not. But because of how objective it is, there's a lot of things you can do with it. You can really work a system with that. You can make some things happen with objectivity. All right. So yes, the book is Christian Astrology by William Lilly. It's an old book, but it's an oldie and a goodie. It is your blueprint. Yes, it is. Okay. Too psychological and too watered down. Not specific and practical. No, it's not. Taurus was indeed originally the cow. Yes. That bovine. Uh, Taurus. Yes. So like for example, and then I'll get to some of your other questions here. But she or they whoever they were that asked the question really uh got one of my passion points. Um, because here's the thing. I mean, if I predict something, I'm not going to be vague about it. Because when it happens, I don't want anybody second guessing if that's what I was talking about, right? I want to get my props. Okay, I want to get my props. I said, well, he said bunny, but did he mean a teddy bunny? Did he mean a cartoon bunny? When you said bunny, a person named Bunny, it's just so many ways to interpret that. People sit there in this daze, like they went to the Oracle at Delphi. I don't understand it. How is it? How about to say, how be it? Okay, how be it? I come to a reader, a seer, a prophet, divine, or whatever, and I leave more confused about what you said than what brought me to you to begin with. That just baffles me. I don't. What good is that to you? I don't know. I don't know. You ain't gotta pay me for that. So you can go and Google your horoscope. Find you a run of the mill random horoscope and get your fill off of that. But anyway, so yeah, so what are some of your other questions there? Great question about astrology. Right. As well we should. And if we don't know, just say you don't know. There's no harm in not knowing. Okay, you're psychic, not omniscient. Okay? Um, I tell people, I don't know. I'm not about to sit there and lie to you or cajole some, no, because see that's just gonna come back. It's gonna bite us both in the ass, right? And that's why I'm not into telling people what they want to hear. Because I said, see, I'll tell you what you want to hear, and then what you want to hear and actually true, and then it happens or it don't happen. It's gonna be my ass on the line, you know. And nobody wants to hear the truth, so they've been hurt by a lie, you know. But neither here nor there. Great question, by the way. We got a good crowd tonight. 13 people. What else y'all got? Keep them coming. Keep them rolling. Make sure Doc still got it. Make sure he still got his edge. How's a person going to find out their abilities? Well, not to piggyback off the previous conversation, but astrology is a great tool for that, to find out what's resident in you. You can do well, I think people kind of overthink some of these things, right? Particularly when you start putting stuff in a spiritual context, we kind of lose our basic reasoning capacities. So it's like, well, I mean, you already know in many cases what your abilities are, right? What are you naturally gifted at? Okay. And so what you're naturally gifted at is probably a spillover or an indication of what you are spiritually gifted at. All right. So it's kind of like a chicken and egg. Which came first, the spiritual ability or the physical ability. Um, if I remember multiple deja vu, is a spirit telling me something that mentions spiritual guidance? Certainly can be. So here's my prevailing thought on deja vu. Well, it's interesting because one of the few prophetic phenomenon I've actually not heard a good prophetic explanation for. I don't think I've ever heard. I think I may have heard one, which probably was my only view of it right now, because it's the only one I've actually heard that actually makes sense to me. But I heard that deja vu, you have that feeling that you've been here before because you have in a dream that you had forgotten. And so deja vu is the evidence of a forgotten prophetic dream. That's kind of my running definition right now. Again, that's my opinion for whatever it's worth. So okay, I've been here before. I've said this before. Whatever. I've had this thought before. Whatever. is because in the dream state you preempted this, you foresaw this, you precognated this. It was precognition. But when you woke out of your dream, um, you forgot it, or over time you forgot it, but that memory is still there in your subconscious, and so it's like, matching up, right? It's like, wait a minute, okay, whoa, that's kind of weird, and so it's like this soul experience of vertigo, like, wait a minute, this is eerie, right? Like, deja vu. So it certainly can be an indication of your spiritual guidance. I would not rule that out at all. The spirits are very creative in getting our attention. Very creative. Oh, absolutely. If you can record your dreams, absolutely do so. There are a lot of different techniques to help you record your dreams and to induce dreams. As I've often said, dreams are not my strong suit. I'm a non-dreaming prophet. I mean, I get them every now and then, child. And that's the God honest truth. I remember when I was coming up, the first ministry I was under. Again, he was a prophet, and he was just getting his feet wet in the prophetic himself. But he didn't believe I was a prophet because I didn't have dreams. He told me, you're not a prophet. You may have a gift, but you all prophets dream. All prophets dream, and that was his understanding. Of course, he was a pastor, not a prophet. So he didn't really have much authority to speak from it because I was new into this. He was the authority at the time, right? Until of course I got around prophets, right, and they showed me where that was not the case at all. There are different types of prophets. There are different types of seers. At least three or four. So one of them is a dreamer of dreams, and some people are not dreamers of dreams, right? So I'm a seer, but I'm just not a big dreamer. So when I do have a dream, it's like dreams are like my bat signal, right? It's like if I get a dream, it's like there's a direct message saying, "Hey, okay, we need your immediate attention on this," right? So that's what I tell about. People do dream interpretation. I tell you that's not my strong suit. So astrology would be a good place to start there with your abilities. Getting an ancestral reading or a spiritual court reading, which I do not do. Okay. See, I'll tell you what I don't do. I outsource a lot of stuff. Because what I do, I'm very good at. So I ain't got no need to cross other people's lanes and be over there looking like food. Um, um, those would be some areas to look at, right? Because many times we get gifts from our spiritual core, right? Our ancestral lineage. There are gifts that they will pass down to us that they were proficient in or weren't able to fully mature for whatever reason. They will pass that down to the next generation so that they can work it out and bring it to its full potential. So yeah, that's what I would start at. Do you recommend someone to speak to about it? I need to find a good reference for that. Y'all, that's a great question. I say I don't do. I need to find somebody I can plug y'all to that does. Um, I believe Solomon on Instagram. Oh, what's his name now? Crossroad King 321. Crossroad King with a K. Crossroad King dot 321. I think. Don't quote me. I think he does ancestral readings. I know he does misas. So I think he does ancestral readings. That's what I would go. But I ain't got no map for you to sit on. So I don't know. I don't know. Um I get ancestral messages in the course of reading by the spirit. Sometimes they come through, but it's not a, hey, this is a separate service. It just, as it flows, it flows. Sometimes it comes, sometimes it doesn't come. More often than not, it does not come. It's not how I get information. um I've had one I would call mediumistic experience. uh um I'm not one of those jack of all trades, I'm not one of those jack of all trades. Oh, I can do this and I can do that and I can do the other. I got my areas of speciality that I'm good in. Okay, I'm good in. Yeah, but I do readings. Yeah, I do readings. And I read by the Spirit. As a prophet, of course, I read the Tarot. I read by geomancy. I cast geomantic charts, and I also, of course, I read um, astrological charts. I do astrological diagnostics rather, and diagnoses depending on what the issue is. Um, yeah, so those are kind of my tools of the trade. Someone asked what are the different types of seers. So um, I guess I should say there are different types of ways to see, right? That seers have. You have the dreamer of dreams, as I mentioned, or those that have what they call the night visions, is what the book of Daniel calls them. Um, um, and you have open visions, closed visions, and inner visions. As a matter of fact, I may make a post about that in my master class. That's a great question. I might go just into that. But um, short rundown is uh, dreamers of dreams are pretty self-explanatory. Night visions are pretty self-explanatory. Open visions. Open visions are when you're seeing an overlay, right, in your physical vision, right? It is external. It is physiological, being physiologically optical to you, right, in your actual natural eye. A lot of people get this with that corner of the eye kind of phenomenon. I just saw something moving, and when I look at it, it's not there. When those two worlds, two dimensions, two realities are colliding or they are meshing, right? They've opened up to each other, right? Um, so that's an open vision. Um, Closed visions are somewhat akin to trances. Trances often lead to closed visions. Closed visions is when your physiology is cut off. So you are not your eyes are not your. It's almost like an out of body. Okay, would be a great way to explain it. Or closed visions where your senses are closed off to the experience, right? You're out of your body. You're not seeing with your physical eye, hearing with your physical ear, smelling with your physical nose, tasting with your physical tongue, touching with your physical hand, etc. It is like a form of stasis, right? Where it is a full body immersion. That's what I want to say, a full sensory immersion in the visionary experience, right? You have no concept of time, place that reside in the mundane world. You are there wherever there is in your vision, and there only, right? And you are getting a full panoramic experience sensually in your closed vision. Um, right. And so inner visions are what I um am most, that's my primary form of seeing is inner visions, which is things play out on the screen of your mind, right? You see them in your mind's eye. That's happening to me all the time. I'm constantly, there's probably not a waking moment. Something's not playing out on the screen of my mind. So that's what I mean by a seer. I can be in Walmart. I can be picking up what is this? McCormick Allspice. Okay. Um, those of you like possession, to the outsider, to the onlooker, may look like that. There is no. You may be stunned in a stunned state, like a still state or like a stasis. Um, that may be what they're seeing on the outside looking in, is you're not moving because literally you've been, you're like, hello. Okay. That's why I said oftentimes trance and closed visions are, very closely related. Um, can children see auras? Absolutely. Because um, um, I think more children do than we think. Children, animals see them very easily. The elderly see them very easily. Some folks with mental challenges to them very easily. One of the things that comes into that, similar to the corner of the eye situation, is that there are things that are imperceivable to the human eye um, the light spectrum that the eye can perceive is quite small, quite limited, right? In the same way, sonically, audibly, the sound spectrum is very small for the human ear to perceive sound. That's why you can't hear a dog whistle, but the dog can. It's still sound. You just can't hear it. It's still existing. So there are a lot of things that are operative, they're in operation. We just can't perceive them because of our limited senses. So that being said, one thing that contributes to that is our eyes. So as our eyes uh, become stronger, or I should say more used, all right, um, then they focus in more on a certain frequency or wavelength of sight. All right. In the same way with your ears, as your ears mature and they grow quote unquote stronger, they kind of focus in on a certain, decibel or a certain range of decibels that it can hear on. This is why there are sounds that your children can hear. 20 years old, 20, you can go online and find them. They do them for experiments. Where you can't hear them, but your children, 20 years and under, right, nieces and nephews can hear it very, very clearly. So what happens is that um, um, as your ear gets stronger, focus in on something. So that's why you see that at the corner of your eye, because the corners of your eye, your peripheral, we call them, are not as strong as your, head-on sight, right? They're weaker, meaning they have a wider range to see in, if that makes sense, right? They're not as focused on a range. So your pupils are focused in on a certain range of sight where your peripherals are not. They're not that focused in. So you see things in the corner of your eye, and when you turn to look at it right on, right, you can't see it. Okay. So children, because their eyes are not that focused in, they can see, right? The elderly, because their eyes are weakening, right, they can see. And animals, of course, their eyes are, created a little bit different than ours. And the same thing with hearing and so forth. Um, I was speaking about something one day. My son said, "Mama, you're glowing with colors." Wow. Pastor Hall says, "Hey, Pastor, God bless you. Sorry, but need to know: can we cook our ancestors' food with salt? I've seen some people say no salt. I'm new to this, but learning as I go. Just need to know so I can do it right. May God be blessed. God bless you. I recommend no salt. No salt. Salt is known to be a spirit inhibitor, and it can cause some issues. It can stir some angst with them because it's like you've given me this food, but now I can't eat it. Right? Salt has that spirit in inhibiting quality. So we put it at our sprinkle salt on witches and things like that. That's where those things come from. Salt inhibits those kinds of metaphysical interference, right? So yeah, in the same way that electromagnetism as a field, as a force, inhibits metaphysical phenomena. All right. All right, let's see how much battery. Oh my God, there goes my fan, y'all. Oh God, he's recording on everything in there. Oh my goodness. What's the origin of salt? Hey, will you do right? I mean, I'm just trying to link something up again. So you don't have to be so temperamental about it. Should these damn iPhones. Um, mm-hmm. I can't give you one origin story as far because there's so many, as there are with many things. Um, I can't give you one. I'm gonna say, hey, that was passed down. Um, what I mean by that is not saying that there isn't one, but that there are so many. Okay. Um, yeah, fruits are normally a good go to. You can't really go wrong with fruits. You really can't. You can't go wrong with fruits. I would definitely look at their cultural background and foods that are significant to that culture, right? If they're Mexican food, if they are Italian food, if they are black and southern, soul food, that kind of thing. Start there. Um, start there. Yeah. So that's what I would say there. I am. You guys a kind of update here. And I updated my picture. I said, I need to tell you what's going on because, Doc will go away and he's like, well, where's Doc? Did you see him? No, I haven't seen him. I was like, well, hell, child, I'm going on about my business then. No. So I have recently come across this massive, um, uh, right now I'm going to get to your question in just a second. This massive, uh, treasure trove of spells. I've been working Conjure since I was 8 years old. And after a while, you start seeing kind of the same stuff recycled with a little bit of, pizzazz on it. You know what I mean? Uh, I mean, how many ways is there to work a candle? Really, right? But what I found in this project were about 1,200 spells. They were not repeating. They were highly detailed. They were powerful, right? Strong spells. These were not for the novice. These were very like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Um, so Doc has been sitting. The thing is, they're not in English. They're in multiple languages. So sitting there translating through them has been. So this was so interesting. It's like doing work that you love. It is exhausting, but it is so fascinating. It's so worth it. Like, oh my god, I feel like I told my best friend last night. I said, man, I feel like I found a corner of the Library of Alexandria. I mean, I just feel like I could just sit here and just read scrolls upon scrolls upon scrolls upon scrolls upon scrolls upon scrolls upon scrolls till my eyeballs fall out. Um, child, I was reading. I was working one day. Child, I forgot to eat. I whole forgot to eat that day. That was literally how focused I was in it. They don't call it a bull's eye for nothing. Like we get, I mean, very entrenched in something. It's almost borderline obsessive. It is like, wow, I was just gorging. Um, I mean, everything from powders and I mean, like for example, I can't even go into all of these things because it's like it's just so much. Um, so you've gone to Botanicus, and they'll have these. Where is my example? I was going to bring up. Is this it? No, that's not it. Where is my example? Um, well, I don't need one. Y'all can pretty much. If you have a passing knowledge of Conjure, you're pretty much what I'm going to be talking about. But you go to the botanic. Okay, you're just right. Look at me right in my face. I mean, it's like, hello. How blind can the seer be? Uh, I'm not going to give the brand. Okay. 'Cause I don't want to shame nobody. But where is the actual one? What is that? It is really shameful, y'all. Okay. Like for example, here's a botanical oil, right? Extra strong protection. All right. And you look at this, well, you can't tell what color it is, but it's this blue, light blue liquid in here. And of course, if we speak frankly, okay, uh, not to ruffle no feathers, but the only thing in there is, dye, mineral oil, maybe, and fragrance. You know, you'd be lucky if the fragrance is essential oils. That's a good deal. Okay. But that's pretty much what it is, right? And I'm not going to make judgment calls on that. That's another conversation for another day. But bear in mind that these recipes, all right, these products with these names, all right, were actually at one point real recipes. They were real formulas, right? It wasn't just cornstarch and spritz on perfume. It was actual herbs and animal parts or whatever that would go into these powders they would sell at the botanicas. So I've come across, for just to give you kind of an idea, I've come across those recipes, those original botanica recipes. I'm like, oh my god. Uh, I'm like, okay, that's what that is. Or that's what that's for. It's just been blowing my mind. So a lot of the stuff you can make at home, which is what I'm going to be going into. This really alter the course I was going to go with my master class. Um, I'm going to translate these. I'm going to demonstrate them. I'm going to post them in my master class, one at a time. Um, one at a time. Some of the best conjurers I know, maybe, maybe, will have about 150 spells they know, like off the bat. Maybe. Not some of the best ones out there. Number one's a lot. There's a lot to remember. Number one, and I mean, once you have about a good organizer of 150, your spirit kind of give you some innovations. Being genius with that, change it up a little bit. It's kind of you alter a little bit, you innovate or whatever as you go. But you kind of got your core 50, your core 100, your core 150, whatever. But to come across not 100, not 500, over 1,000 recipes, formula, spells, and rituals. I mean, I have tried to search for them online and have come up empty. Come up empty. Nobody's doing it. I don't. It's not there. It's just not there. Because well, maybe somebody has translated this and no, they haven't. So, um, it's daunting, but I'm so excited. Y'all pray for your brother. If y'all don't hear from me, that's probably what's going on. Definitely check me out on Patreon so I can keep up to date with that stuff. But it is. I'm about to shoot a video tonight because I owed them one from yesterday on one of my findings. Right, it's a type of Tapa Boca or shut up spell that was very interesting. Um, I said, wow, I had to go out and buy stuff. And that's saying something. Because most countries they got everything you can think of. Or they pretty much have their running stash of their apothecaries. So when you have to go out and buy something, let you know 'cause this is something unique. Okay. I was in two stores. Like, y'all have this? Y'all carry that? I'm looking in the aisle. So I was at the store today, and when you're looking for something in the store, you park your buggy, right? And you go look at the thing. So I'm over here like really intently looking. No, that's not quite it. No, that's not quite it. No, that's not it. Right? And so just holding up all kinds of traffic in the store. People like, excuse me, sir, can you move your buckets? Y'all, I'm so sorry. Right? And so it was one of those kind of things. So it was fun. I feel like a kid in a candy store again. It's fun to kind of get back into something that's going to engage you and um, it's good. It keeps your blood flowing, and my granddad would say, keeps the blood hot. So that's what I've been endeavoring doing, y'all, and I have just been every waking hour has not been dedicated already been going to that project. Um, I mean, egg spells I had never heard of before, uh, which I'm gonna be going into as well. And I had to buy a whole nother crate of are the semi a part of voodoo or mainly hoodoo or utilizing both? I would say the reverse is true. I believe they are mainly a part of voodoo. But the idea of water spirits, okay. is not unfamiliar to hoodoo, obviously. But that specific class of spirits, what that name, what that tells, it answers to those terminology, as my understanding goes, are primarily voodoo rather. Great question. Yeah, well, I'll tell you why you don't see a lot of people talk about it. And I'll tell you what you're not seeing a lot of people talk about, period. Because of the advent of the internet, you're not seeing a lot of people talk about in person work, period. Think about it. Think about it. Practices that you know that are online, how many of them are you confident do in person work? And I'm not talking about finding them at a fair and they're having to read for you. I mean, like, like the old school. Not very many. Not very many. Not very many at all. So that kind of goes into that there are just something I'm going to tell you. There's something I just can't do remotely. I tell people, maybe I'm not powerful enough, maybe I just don't know. It could be a number of things. I can tell you. Something I just can't do remotely. I'm not about to scam you. And no, good and well, this ritual is going to take, a 4-day living situation. And I'm going to be trying to do it over here for 4 hours with a candle and send you a picture of the candle burning. It's not me. It's not me. The way I was taught is very, very different. I got my start in my community, right? And I encourage every worker, and I always have encouraged them, start local. It's like investing in gold. It's like, some things are just common sense, okay? Uh, Start local, all right? And there are practical reasons for that. One is, uh, I'm not that altogether pressed over social media, and I don't have to be because um, my meals per se aren't connected. I'm not gonna miss a meal from social media. All right, may miss a few clients, may miss a few customers, whatever, but I'm not gonna miss a meal. You see what I'm saying? Because my uh stock and barrels in my community. All right, people actually know me. They know where I live. They come. They call me up and say, "Hey, doc, I got this going on. Can you come see me?" I was telling you guys, a couple of weeks ago about a client who was in the hospital. I had to go see her. Things like that. That was how I was raised. That's the tradition I came in. To me, it's exact reverse. This online stuff is what I had to adapt to. Taking orders online and all that kind of stuff. This is relatively new to me. Okay, I've only been doing online stuff. I don't even think 5 years yet. I don't think 5 years yet. My first advent to the internet was Periscope. Okay. That was my first introduction to the board at large, the spiritual practitioner. Otherwise, it was local, right? Um, so that is where and still is where the majority of my focus goes, and it keeps my bills paid. Let's just speak frank, right? The community takes care of me. Um, because I sow into my community. So I always tell people start there, right? Start there. And of course, that also helped with um, online reputation. All right, because it's come back to me more than once that people from online have snooped about or fact checked me or whatever. And I found that I've come back just who I say I am. They've talked to people actually who are in my community say, no, okay, that's Doc. That's him. He is what he says he is. So um, that crossing over, it was normally done in person, right? Or I should say on location, right? Um, this kind of proxy or remote elevation. No, 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 no. Not fully understand where you're coming from. What I was saying was, let me. I tend to ramble. My point being that the line of work you're talking about is tied to a type of worker that's on the decline or is obscure or is extinct, which is those in-person workers, right? Those who actually make house calls, right? It wasn't long ago I was at it. I was just in where were we at? We were in Florence. We were in Lake City, making the house call. Okay, not long ago, right? Charleston, Augusta, not long ago, Florence, right? Those are kind of in-person works. So to learn them, how to perform them, then I'd recommend it be in person with the in-person kind of worker. Right? There were just things when my students came and sit in with me. Those who actually come locally, and they watch the work actually being done, not just pictures after the fact or still images with a little bit of catchment. They actually see the process of working. Okay, um, it's like, oh wow, that's not what I expected, or not what I assumed, or not what I took away would be going on based upon what I read or based upon what I heard, right? Um, like things like how to things that I take for granted because this is I was raised in this, like how to prepare spiritual baths, right? Um, there's a lot of things I take for granted. People are like, how do you make a spiritual bath? I was like, well, you make it. But I said, people, you gotta come and watch me do it, right? Watch me do it, and